for the TDSB. The board held a special meeting with the conflicts and policing in schools as major topics of conversation. As Shauna Hunt reports, the incidents are just part of a disturbing wider trend.
We are kids who come for an education we can't get because there is no structure. Instead of pinning us as monsters, why don't you ask us why?
York Memorial students walked out of class last week to protest the dangerous learning conditions they've been dealing with since merging with another high school back in September.
School fights, it's hard walking in the halls, you know.
Refusals from teachers.
Yeah, all it takes is to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You might get caught in the crossfire.
Speaking to City News, staff and students described a school in chaos, daily fights in the hallways, illicit activity in the washrooms, and unsanitary conditions. With police regularly being called to the school, students said their learning was often disrupted by armed officers entering the building, and they felt over-surveilled by police. Even though the TDSB has not proposed reinstating school resource officers, a program that was canceled back in 2017, last night policing in schools dominated the board's 4.5-hour-long special meeting.
These students were calling for funding for supplies, resources to fund clubs and field trips and learning materials. They were calling for more classroom support. They were specifically calling for less policing.
Back in October, at least a dozen York Memorial teachers refused to work. The Ministry of Labor investigated claims of an unsafe work environment. A source sent that report to City News confirming the disarray. The report also noted there was a jump list and teachers feared they were going to be attacked, and some students wore balaclavas to be unidentifiable. The report also ordered the school board to conduct a full violence risk assessment by the end of the week. The TDSB has also outlined a number of steps being taken to address some of the issues, including more permanent teachers and counseling supports, virtual learning opportunities, staggered exit times to help with overcrowding, and a safe system for reporting racism is being established. Overall, the TDSB is seeing a major escalation in violence on school property. The latest community safety report found this school year is on track to have the highest number of violent incidents in the 23 years that data has been collected. And this also corresponds with Toronto police data that shows a significant increase in youth violence citywide.
We look at the Toronto's unemployment rates, the worst in Ontario with Black and Indigenous young people, those rates being far worse for them. Poverty is high, food insecurity, the mental health crisis has just been exacerbated. So it's like, how can we be quick to police our way out of this crisis when we've not even taken the tangible measures to improve young people's conditions?
Shauna Hunt, City News.
What's happening, what's going on? Part of my Presence YouTube channel. You just saw that clip there, which is about the rise in violence that's happening inside the schools in Toronto. There seems to be a lot of shootings, stabbings, weapons being confiscated, unsafe environments for kids who just want to go to school to learn and get education. And this seems to be a huge issue that are on everyone's minds, whether it's police officers, whether it's the politicians, and of course the students and also the parents of the students. So this is an issue that affects a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders involved in this, and there seems to be no resolution in sight. Everybody has their own agendas that they want to impose on other people. But what I find the most frustration of all of this is the fact that no one ever listens to the students who are in the thick of it, who are in the middle of all these things. They never ever look to the students to gain any insight, to get suggestions of how they can resolve this problem. They always have this top-down approach, and it usually comes from the police officers and trying to get more police officers involved in the schools so that they can police students. That is not going to resolve the issue at all. That is not going to, stop the violence or even change the mentality that creates these unsafe atmospheres. So let me just give you a breakdown. Since the pandemic, a lot of these schools have shut down their extracurricular activities. There's hardly any organized sports. They've shut down programs like football, soccer, basketball. They've restricted track and field. So you have a lot of these students, especially at a time where these kids, they're teenagers, they're trying to find themselves coming into their own. They have a whole bunch of ideas that they want to bring to fruition. And usually school is a place where they help you facilitate, your ideas and bring them to life. And the teachers and the faculty and the principals, they're crushing these children's dreams because there's no home ec, there's no shop, there's no automotive, there's no place where they could learn about different things. There's no chess programs. There's no programs about how to deal with peer pressure and social medias and all the ills as a result of those things. There's no groups where people could engage with each other, right? So what happens when there's no safe place or organized place for kids to come to their own, for kids to hone their talents, for kids to, find their talents? When they don't have those things in place, then you're going to have kids who resort to social media and resort to violence. Organized violence is what you're seeing, where you have a lot of kids resorting to joining gangs, getting involved in criminal activity in order to earn some type of income or to earn some type of notoriety and fame, because all those things are important for an impressionable teenager. So they get involved in these things and they end up in situations where now they're fighting in class, they're fighting in school, they're making arrangements to meet up with one group and to fight the other group. And this is what is on the teens' minds at this point. And instead of looking to the teenagers for assistance, for help, for solutions, they are going to police officers and politicians because they want to stop the crime. They want to stop the headlines from continuing. And the problem with that is that when you focus on the guns, the knives, kids being shot, kids being stabbed, another person's dying, those headlines, when you focus on those things, you're ignoring the mind of the child who wants to be involved in those things. You're ignoring the psyche of a child who says, I'd rather join a gang than join my chess club. Well, maybe there is no chess club. Maybe there's no art class. Maybe there's no basketball program that's worthy enough for them to join to get them away from all of these things that could cause trouble. When are these adults, whether it's the teachers, the principals, the politicians, the police officers, when are they going to start including these children into the conversation to find out what can be done to help them? Because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the kids on what they are going to do. And also, when are you going to help the parents? Because here's the one thing that I think that people need to understand. Since the pandemic, a lot, and this is, again, you tell me this, a lot of parents, due to inflation, are unable to make ends meet. Well, they might have to work one or two jobs. And in working one or two jobs, they may not be there for their child who's in high school. They might not be available to hear out what the child is dealing with in high school and the pressures and the issues that they're dealing with. And they're not even able to assist the children if they have problems or get them the help if they need to speak to someone for therapy. They're not available because they're trying to make ends meet. And all these things lead to factors where you have the kids, the end result is the kids are suffering and no one is willing to listen to them, to hear what they have to say. There's a lot of great minds and a lot of a great insight that come from teenagers because they see things differently and they're also more optimistic. And I think it's time that we start listening to what they have to say and include them into the resolution process, because the only way to stop the violence and to stop a child from going into the wrong direction is to give them the power to make life choices that could put them in a better predicament. Because I don't know any child who doesn't want to do things that are beneficial for them. I just think they make these wrong choices because they can't see that far in the future. So if we find a way to give them that insight, to give them a way where they could see themselves in the future, and they have goals that they could align with, they have goals that they could aspire to become a particular thing and aspire to achieve something, then you're giving a child who is aimless, who might not have an identity that they're solidified in, you're giving them hope and direction to become something of themselves. And when they have that guidance and they have that foresight, they're more willing to stay on that course and remove themselves from things that they know is counterproductive, like gangs, like violence, like drugs, so on and so forth. So I think it's time that we stay away from giving money to police budgets and equipment and giving raises to politicians and giving raises to teachers, because none of those things really help the child and the student at all. We need to redirect those funds into the schools and to provide programs that specifically help kids. And this is what we need: organized sports, organize programs, before and after school programs, and give children an abundance of possibilities, an abundance of different potentials, and open them up to different things and the different ways that they could become a productive member in society, because all children want to find a place where they belong. And if you give them enough viewpoints where they could find something that they could gravitate towards, then you'll have a child that's more focused, more productive, more optimistic, and more prone to become something of themselves and not be involved in something that they know is going to lead to a dead end, dead or in jail, or something even worse. So that's my 2 cents in regards to the increase in school violence and what could be done. Again, you may not want to take my word for it, but speak to your child, speak to a teen, hear it from them. They will tell you exactly what could be done and what's the most beneficial to help students to steer away from that type of activity that will bring them nothing but hurt, pain, death, and destruction. You let me know how you feel about this. You can leave a comment in the comment section, like, share, all that good stuff. Until next time, part of my presence YouTube channel. Next move, best move. Peace.